I was not expecting a cannon blast in that footage. I was here, like, doing some kind of pre-work for the show, and there was this boom, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm sorry." So I apologize for that. That was most of the footage from that collection is silent, so it was weird to kind of see or to hear that. Anyways, there you go. Yeah, and it was a lot of that footage is like from all over the place, and they just kind of call it stock clips, and it might have been for a bigger film that they were going to do, and it was just raw footage that was shot. But it does seem like it is all over the place. All right. Speaking of random, now that it's warm outside, it's almost 80 degrees, and there's a lot of pollens, which is why I'm not outside. Here's a film about winter. Enjoy.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh. O'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtail ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleigh song tonight. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
Fanny Bright,
Where did you get that sleigh?
I rented it. Come on, let's go for a ride.
A day or two ago, I thought I'd take a ride, and soon Miss Fanny Bright was seated by my side. The horse was lean and lank, misfortune seemed his lot. He got into a drifted bank and we got a shot. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Now the ground is white, go it while you're young. Take the girls tonight and sing a sleighing song. Just get up off your neck, 244 in speed, and pitch into an open sleigh and crack, you'll take the lead. Jingle bells, jingle all the way.
Grinding through the snow in a souped-up snowmobile. O'er the fields we go, mittens on the wheel, bells on windshields ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to sing a snowmobiling song tonight.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in one-horse open sleigh.
Now the ground is white, go it while you're young. Take the guy skies tonight. Sing the sleighing song, just get a snowmobile. There's nothing else you'll need. And if your tank is full of gas, boom, you'll take the lead.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
Creeping through the dust on a lunar rover sledge. Crater up ahead, but we'll avoid the edge. Bells from home base ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to sing a lunar roving song tonight.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
A day or two ago, I thought I'd take a ride, and soon Miss Fanny Bright was seated by my side. The rover strained a gear, the batteries got shot, it rammed into a crater wall, and we got upsot.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
Now the ground is white. Go it while you're young.
Take the girls tonight and sing the sleighing song.
Just get up off your neck, 244 is speed. And hitch you to an open sleigh and crack, you'll take the lead. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
What the hell was that? That was crazy. It just goes to show that the 80s were a very weird time over at Coronet. And, man, that was so weird. Nothing really to be learned from that, really. I don't know what, I really don't know the point. I mean, it is something that you'd show to kids and then you get them excited and talk about the future, the past. You know, there's things you could pull out of that, but oh boy, that's crazy. I think I need something to clear me of this. Something to Borax. Borax, that's what we need. This is from the National Archives. Enjoy.
This is the Atomic Energy Commission's National Reactor Testing Station. Sagebrush country. Quiet country. 440,000 acres of Idaho's high plateau, home of half a dozen major technical plants where scientists and engineers are studying ways of putting the atom to work for mankind. Here, Argonne National Laboratory has built and tested several types of reactors. The experimental breeder reactor, EBR for short, which demonstrated the possibility of breeding nuclear fuel, was an early tenant of this area. Back in 1951, this reactor was also the scene of a significant piece of history, the first production of useful electricity from nuclear power in the world. The nuclear reactor in operation produced substantial amounts of heat. In a closed system, a liquid metal took the heat to a heat exchanger, where it was transferred to a second closed liquid metal circuit, which carried the heat to a steam boiler. The steam was piped into a turbine to drive a generator. The generator came up to speed, and we had electric power. It was only a token amount, but it was enough to supply all the needs of this particular reactor and its buildings and machinery. EBR was not designed primarily as a power reactor, but among the data it did contribute was more knowledge in the field of heat transfer studies. Many scientists were studying power reactor problems. At Argonne, Dr. Walter Zinn and his colleagues went to work on their concept of simplifying the process by building a new type of reactor in which the water turned directly to steam inside the reactor itself, thus eliminating the heat exchanger. This could be an important advance in power reactor technology. The theory involved in the new design was relatively simple. There would be a sealed pressure vessel containing fuel plates made of uranium alloy. Ordinary water surrounding the plates would act as the coolant and would slow down the neutrons. Neutron-absorbing control rods would regulate the activity level. As soon as the rods were withdrawn, the chain reaction would increase, making the reactor plates hot. Some of the water would turn to steam. Before going further, it was considered necessary to check the safety factors of such a system by an actual test. In experiments with an early version of the reactor in 1953, it was determined that the design would indeed produce steam steadily. It was also proved that the reactor had an inherent safety factor against accidental power rises. Since the moderating water was necessary to keep the nuclear chain reaction going, any excess steam that diluted the water or shoved it out of the core automatically slowed or stopped the reaction. In other words, the reactor had self-regulating characteristics. Tying in this and other experiments, the design theory was now on more solid ground. Work could continue toward electric power production. In this plan, steam from the boiling reactor would go directly to drive a turbine, then through a condenser and back to the reactor in a closed cycle. The turbine would be coupled to a generator to produce electricity. The final step would be a device to get rid of the experimental electricity. A water rheostat, a sort of giant waffle iron, cooled by a water system which would circulate through a cooling tower. A single control center would direct the main functions of all units. Construction of the experimental nuclear power plant, named Borax, short for Boiling Reactor Experiment, began in early 1955 at the testing station in Idaho, a complex job that can be summarized in a series of brief glances during the course of construction. By late spring of 1955, the reactor tank was completed inside one building, and a short distance away, the turbine was being installed in a separate structure. Then the steam condenser was hoisted and coupled into place below the turbine. We have no complete answer as to how much the future maintenance of the turbo generator will be complicated by radioactivity carried by the steam. Current information suggests that this will not be a major problem in systems of this type. The next item, the generator, was lowered into place beside the turbine. Over in the reactor building, the grid, or framework to hold the fuel elements, is ready for installation. First, however, a set of fuel elements is placed in each of the 4 grid sections in turn to make sure they will fit properly at final assembly. With this check accomplished, the elements are taken out and the empty grid is lowered into place in the reactor vessel, ready for fueling when the time comes. In the meantime, work continues steadily on other parts of the job. The necessary plumbing is installed to all units. From the reactor pressure vessel, steam will go through an overhead insulated pipe to the turbo generator. The return pipe of smaller diameter is just below the steam pipe. A maze of control valves and electronic equipment is installed. All control circuits lead to a trailer located half a mile away, since the plant, the first of its kind, is to be given severe safety tests. The control trailer is near the older experimental breeder reactor that gave us our first useful electricity from the atom. In addition to controls, many kinds of meters and recorders are located in the trailer. Back in the power plant area, the roof and walls of the turbo generator building are completed. At the end of this structure, the water rheostat, the waffle iron to get rid of surplus electricity, is assembled. Pipes and the pump to circulate the water it will heat are connected up to flow the water over the louvers of the cooling tower. The non-nuclear part of the project is finally finished. Inside the reactor building, the last of the 5 control rods is inserted in the grid as a basic safety measure before loading the fuel elements. Next, the fuel elements of uranium alloy are loaded into the grid. With the fueling completed, the pressure cap is placed on top of the vessel and bolted down. The top cover slab is pulled in place over the vessel. With the top cover slab in position, the control rod extensions are passed through the cover slab and pressure cap, connected to the control rods, and packed to prevent leakage of steam. The machinery to operate the control rods is moved into position and connected to the rods above the slab. With this, the reactor is essentially complete. After a series of checks of instrument and servo controls, all operational circuits to the distant control trailer are active, and the reactor can now go critical. A number of careful tests are made with the reactor at low power to learn its operating characteristics. Then the time comes for a test at full power. The reactor vessel has been charged with preheated water, and the control rods are withdrawn from the reactor core. Very soon, the first signs of activity are registered as the counter panel shows an increasing number of neutrons. The critical point is reached and passed, and indicators show the rapid rise of the water temperature in the reactor core. Steam pressure comes up to 300 pounds per square inch at a temperature of 418 degrees Fahrenheit. This is the set operational level, and the control valve is opened to feed steam to the turbo generator, which picks up speed. At this point, instrument readings take over the story. The instruments say the output lines from the generator are hot. The new type boiling reactor is, for the first time, producing a steady 14,000 kilowatts of heat and about 2,000 kilowatts of electric power, power enough to supply a small city. The next obvious thought was, well, why not supply a small city just to complete the experiment? There was one about the right size only 20 miles away. Arco, Idaho, a normal western community in a range and farm area with a normal quota of schools, churches, stores, homes, and humans. Nearly 1,200 humans. Here was the chance to make one more small slice of history. Arco, Idaho could be the first American town to be lighted experimentally and exclusively by nuclear power, power from this new kind of reactor. it was found the transmission of the electricity would not be difficult. The existing network could be easily adapted. Somewhat simplified, the normal circuits of importance to the project were a feeder line of the Utah Power and Light Company into ARCO, and a branch of this line to serve the National Reactor Testing Station, including Argonne's Borax facility. From the testing station, an old unused line connected with the ARCO substation. It was necessary to build a circuit so that Borax could supply its own power requirements, and a transformer was needed to step up the Borax line voltage for distance transmission. The project needed a switching arrangement at the testing station to cut Borax off from conventional power and then send Borax nuclear power up to the ARCO substation. At the substation, another switch would isolate ARCO from Utah power and then feed Borax power into the town. All preparations were completed by mid-July. A few days later, shortly after sunset, Borax was standing by with full power, ready and waiting. Transmission lines were ready. ARCO was ready. It was after dinner time, and people were going about their evening's business. Several hours later, the Borax reactor is phased in on schedule to supply its own electricity. Then, Borax is disconnected from conventional power, and its nuclear power is sent on toward ARCO substation. In town, the lights are still bright. Then, the substation cuts off conventional power and feeds in Borax nuclear power. ARCO sees new light from nuclear power. Here in ARCO on July 17, 1955, this new type of power reactor supplied citywide the kind of energy which will someday power man's factories, warm his home, cook his meals, and in many other ways make his life richer and fuller in a peaceful world.
Ah, the novelty of atomic power back in the day. Yeah, that wasn't about Borax. Borax. That was the name of it. It was Project Borax, but it wasn't about that wonderful power detergent. All right, we've been watching some National Archives materials, and here's another one. This is our good friend Hoja. But this one's Hoja Betrayed. Enjoy.
In a popular coffee house not too far away from here, men of the town often gather at the noon hour to discuss news of the day over a cup of their favorite drink. That elderly gentleman is our sheikh, who often retells the stories of Nasruddin Hoja and reminds us that the problems of today are by no means new ones. This latest arrival is Hamid, a young man of radical and very definite opinions.
Soccer is a stupid game. You've got to be smart to keep from getting banged up.
Oh, that explains all your injuries.
It's just a waste of time playing with the young men's soccer league.
Then why do you play soccer, Hamid, if it does not agree with you?
have my reasons, Effendi.
But you are older than the boys in the soccer league, Hamid. Why spend so much time with them?
I said I had my reasons. Waiter! Coffee!
Now, why on earth would a confirmed radical like Hamid spend so much time playing ball? It just doesn't make sense.
No, no sense at all, if his interest were in the game. But if Hamid wanted to spread his radical ideas among the young ball players...
Oh, yes, Effendi. I think I see what you mean.
Burhan, let me tell you a story about Nasiruddin Hoja. It may help you to understand what radicals like Hamid sometimes try to do. The story is called The Hoja Betrayed, and it begins in Nasiruddin Hoja's village almost 600 years ago. In the days when the conquering Emperor Tamerlane came to rule, there was fear in all the villages. Every morning, when the bright sun lifted the safe, dark blanket of night, the villagers appeared to go about their daily errands just as they had always done. But, never knowing when the Emperor's soldiers might swoop down upon them, they were afraid and worried and nervous. If the good people in Nasiruddin's village felt any safer than the residents of other little villages all across the land, it was because, under the Hoja's wise guidance, they had taken certain precautions against sudden and unexpected visits from Emperor Tamerlane's soldiers.
When the alarm had been given that soldiers were coming, the villagers rushed to put their families and valuables in a secret hiding place. It was at this moment of danger that the Hoja noticed a hooded dervish, a stranger in the village. But no one else shared Nasruddin's suspicions.
The dervish is helping us, Hoja. Anyone can see that. What more do we need to know about him?
And there was no more time to argue. When it appeared that the emperor's soldiers were leaving and that they were safe now, the Hoja turned to his neighbors.
Allah has been kind to us. Let us say a prayer of thanks.
But suddenly, the strange dervish dropped his hood and stood revealed as the dread Emperor Tamerlane himself. And the Hoja spoke again.
On second thought, we had better say our prayers for the dead.
And as the soldiers laid ruin to their village, the Hoja could only draw a grim lesson for his friends.
In the future, in time of danger, we will not overlook the identity or loyalty of all amongst us. For where we did not fall to violence, we were easily betrayed.
And down through the years, the lesson has come for us today, Burhan. We must beware of those who disguise themselves and labor at strange tasks in order to further their own ends. For while our young men might not listen to the radical ideas of outsiders, their loyalties to our country can be confused by men who appear to be just like any one of them. Let us hope in these troubled days, none of us will be betrayed, as was Nasruddin Hoja.
So I think we discovered that Mary Chase Marionettes, they had a TV, they did several TV appearances and maybe even had their own show for a little while in the early 50s. So that turban that the storyteller was wearing, was that the same turban that was being talked about in the Borax film? Yes, that's yet another weird pronunciation. All right, what do we got here? The shot put. We talked about the discus yesterday. Let's talk about the shot put. Enjoy.
The distance that a shot will travel will depend upon the speed with which it leaves the hand. The greater the velocity, the farther it will go. Hence, all points of form stem directly from the goal of obtaining the greatest possible shot velocity. The most important general principle is to cross the circle in such a way as to obtain the longest possible acceleration of the shot. All fine shot putters develop a long drive. The second broad principle is that there must be a maximum use of the big muscles of the body. Though the arm action is important, it is not nearly enough for effective putting. The legs are much stronger and must contribute a full and powerful share to the drive. Observers of the great shot putters are struck by the utter simplicity and naturalness of their movements. This suggests an important general principle. The natural, almost instinctive movements of the good athlete must be preserved. This is particularly true in the use of the right arm and shoulder, where the talented athlete will perform well right from the start. Of course, the shot putter does need help, but the wise coach will teach a simple framework, a framework in which the athlete's natural movements can be used effectively. Most practice time in the shot put will be spent in learning to lengthen the drive or distance of acceleration. It is useful for the beginner to think of this action as similar to that of a steel strip. He can think of the strip as being bent back and then released. The farther it is bent back, the greater the power. Form or technique is simply the way in which principles are put into effect. Good form permits a long acceleration of the shot, a full blow of the big muscles of the body, and a natural freewheeling movement of the arm and shoulder. Again, the basic parts of the form: an easy movement of the left leg, power position, a long drive of legs, body, and arm, a reverse that balances the athlete on his right leg and keeps him in the circle. The drive or hop across the circle supplies momentum, but it must prepare the athlete for a long, solid drive on the shot. This is the fundamental driving position or power position. The body is back and poised to deliver a long blow. Attainment of an effective power position is the chief goal of the shot putter. It is a highly skilled act that will occupy more time than any other aspect of the event. From this position, a clean blow is delivered, making effective use of the entire body. On the reverse, the right leg bends to aid balance. The choice between a brass and an iron shot should be left to the athlete. It's simply a matter of preference, and he'll have to experiment. It is important, however, that the shot feel light. The shot putter must build up his strength as quickly as possible. If the shot feels heavy, it is very difficult to learn proper timing. The athlete is introduced to the event after he has first had several weeks of conditioning exercises. At first, he is allowed an orientation period with very little coaching instruction. The shot should be held against the base of the fingers. There are 3 finger positions used by good shot putters. The fingers can be placed almost together, they can be spread slightly apart, or the small finger can be placed to the side and almost underneath the shot. In the early stages, the shot should be put low. Later on, proper height will result from the correct use of the legs and back. The putting action of the arm resembles the straight punch of the boxer. The right shoulder is loose and high. At this point, the athlete has only a short acceleration of the shot. Obviously, the longer the acceleration, the greater the power. Thus, the next part of his training is directed toward both increasing the length of drive and bringing the big muscles of the body into action. Longer drive is put into practice by means of a drill. The right leg becomes important. The right foot is swung rhythmically to the rear and receives the body weight. Again, the right foot is back and supports the body. This action is carried out with an easy rhythm. The drive position is made easier if the right toe is pointed toward the rear. Recall the important principle of developing shot velocity. We want the longest possible acceleration. So far, we have worked for a back position. Now we want to continue the forward drive as far as possible, or we want to apply pressure to the shot as long as we can. With his left foot at the front of the circle, the candidate reaches forward. Now he moves to his right foot and again stretches forward. In this way, the athlete receives a clear demonstration of the reasons for the reverse. He must change his feet to obtain the longest possible drive against the shot. The reverse can first be visualized as a simple exchange of foot positions. In exchanging the feet, it is found easier to let the left foot remain in the air. This time we let the left leg swing freely and toward the rear of the circle. Finally, the full leg drive from a back position is combined with the reverse. The candidate tries to get the feel of the reverse by first working without the shot. Simple as it appears, the action and timing of the reverse are usually puzzling to the beginner. Often his reverse looks so awkward and at first cuts down so much on distance that the worried coach is inclined to either abandon it or give it very intensive coaching attention. Neither alternative is good. The reverse is a necessary part of technique and must be used. It should be practiced, but not overcoached. That is, the timing should be left to the athlete. With continued practice, the athlete will use the reverse smoothly and efficiently. Early coaching attention should be given to the follow-through. The right knee is bent and the right shoulder and arm driven past the median line. Left arm and left leg are extended back. Early drills in these simple mechanics will pay in later polish. The goal of the follow-through is to obtain the longest possible drive on the shot, and at the same time keep the center of gravity low and far enough back to help the athlete remain in the circle. The footwork of the shot put should take place on an approximately straight line. Hence, a line scratched through the center of the circle is a useful guide for the beginner. Starting positions at the rear of the circle may vary from the side position common until recent years to the position introduced by Parry O'Brien, in which the athlete faces directly away from the intended direction of shot flight. The athlete should first practice the hop without the shot. He is taught to keep his center of gravity low. The most important point is the landing on the right leg in a balanced position. The coach constantly stresses body balance over the right foot. When the athlete goes from dry runs to hops with the shot in his hand, he must expect a temporary loss in both position and timing. Note the presence of the toe board. The experienced shot putter likes a board and works comfortably with it. The beginner, however, is somewhat bothered by it. Early work should probably be without the board, but with increased progress, the board should be introduced. It will become less and less disturbing. A rhythmic and loose swing of the left leg initiates the hop. Timing is important. The left leg swing, however, is not used to pull the body forward. Instead, it is a low drive of the right leg that supplies the power for the movement across the circle. Footwork is the heart of the shot put. Drills should be a part of every workout. There can be no real success until the footwork is mastered. The great strength of the legs cannot be used to drive the shot until the athlete learns to land in a balanced position over the right foot. Dry runs, or drills without the shot, are helpful even to advanced shot putters. For the beginner, they are musts. A full effort in slow motion. Facing to the rear, the athlete takes a comfortable position over his right foot. The left leg swings in alignment. Now low across the circle, balance, a drive of both legs, reverse, and follow through. Though drills should always be included, as time goes by, full puts will make up the bulk of the workouts. In making these puts, the shot putter must keep in mind a clear picture of what he is trying to do. He must concentrate on every single put. The hop across the circle is the means of gaining momentum, but speed must never be won at the expense of position. The athlete should concentrate on position. Momentum is important, but it comes about indirectly as a result of natural speed, increased efficiency, and conditioning. It is position that permits the main principles to be carried out: a long drive on the shot and the use of the big muscles of the body. Still, another important principle must be stressed. Remember that the most effective action in the shot put always appears simple and natural. Wise coaching will confine itself to the essentials. The most valuable single bit of coaching advice the shot putter can receive is this: concentrate on leg action. He will be on the road to great progress when he knows he can balance well over his legs and he feels a solid drive against the shot. Good form in the shot put is, of course, essential to performance, but good form is nothing more than the efficient application of power. Power becomes a key word. All great shot putters are extremely powerful men. A generation ago, weight training was feared and avoided by track coaches. 10 years ago, weight training was controversial. Today, weight training is a must. The off-season is the time for a heavy weightlifting program. Then, under the guidance of his coach, the athlete lifts 3 times a week. He avoids lifting on consecutive days. During the competitive season, the typical workout starts on the track. Fine shot putters are usually good runners, and they certainly realize the importance of running as a conditioner. At least one day each week, the sprinters should be joined for starting practice. Most shot putters like to put hard in practice. With competition on Saturday, the athlete can put as hard and as often as he wishes, up to and including Wednesday. Though the desire to put hard is natural enough, the put should never be aimless. Primary attention must be on form if the workout is to have value. Whenever possible, a coach should be on hand to observe. In this way, the athlete's attention can be directed to the points of technique that most need correction. If there's a meet on Saturday, Thursday is the last day of practice. On Thursday, the workout is brief. The athlete warms up just as if he were to be in competition. When he feels ready, he allows himself only a certain number of puts, usually 6, or the same number he can expect to receive in Saturday's competition. The athlete prepares himself mentally, just as if the puts were to count in competition. He knows that he has a limited number of tries, and he must make each one good. Thus, he has the need to concentrate and all the other benefits of a full-dress rehearsal. When the last of the puts allowed to him has been made, the athlete must stop immediately. It is best not to break this rule. He avoids further putting until Saturday. Then he should have the right edge for a fine competitive performance. Then are the basic points for the shot putter. Progress demands a clear picture of the goal and much hard work. The path is not always easy, but there are rich rewards in the satisfaction of achievement and the fun of competition.
I don't know. I loved it. I did not compete in any track and field. I probably should have in high school because I could run really fast. But yeah. Anyways, I think this is that niche thing that I like a film that's for a specific audience for a specific time. That's really what AV Geeks is all about, and then showing those niche things to people who don't care about them. That's really what we do here at AV Geeks. So here's something. Let's see, where is it? This is a shot of the basement at the archive. We are not at the archive because work is being done on it, and this is where Floor is going to be poured. There's going to be sump pumps. There's going to be its own HVAC. It's going to be something that's going to deal with if there's any vinegar smell, it'll pipe it out. It will be a climate-controlled space for our films. Hopefully, and I'm knocking on this wooden table, hopefully this is going to happen in May. And then we'll start moving stuff back into the space. It's been a lot of work. A lot of work that's been upstairs as well. So, yeah, this is the deal. And so when you donate to AV Geeks, what you're doing is you're donating to support the rental of storage units where there's a bunch of films, and at some point those films will come back, and they'll come back better organized than when they left. That, again, knocking on some wood. And we'll be able to find films better. We'll be able to do more live digitizings, all that stuff that we love to do. But I appreciate you watching today. Jeremy, I appreciate the donation. That is one way to support us, via the super thanks button. Another way is to hit the thumbs up or the like button, or watch one of the 10,000 or several of the 10,000 videos that we've uploaded. And I think now we have 10,100. So we are chugging along. I'm not adding as many per day as I was before, just because it is very time intensive. And it basically takes away from other things that I can work on, like preparing for this show. But thank you so much for watching. Thanks so much for your support. I get lots of great emails from you folks, and also just seeing your comments means a great deal. It's because when it comes to schlepping stuff like films, holy cow, that's a big deal. So anyways, thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you on Monday. Take care. Bye.